of Beast Wars Machines for the people of you listening on the podcast. We're just doing a regular review for YouTube as well, live streaming it. It's 10:40 at night, so we're not likely to get any people
Yeah,
watching.
it's okay
So
if you're not going to tune in. If you do tune in, cool. Glad you're here.
for those of you on podcast, I am PhelesDragon on YouTube, Pheles Dragon. If you want to see the like visual review for those of you on YouTube watching, we have a podcast,
Mhm.
Beast Wars Machines, that we're ending with this episode, our
Right.
season 0 finale, which was a speed run refresh of Beast Wars for Joy
Mhm.
for the purposes of adequately and accurately reviewing Beast Machines on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Which you can find our podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and I believe we're on Apple now.
Okay,
So
so
we're on the big three.
yes,
Um, by the way, I'm Joy. I'm the wife.
I'm Mike. I'm the husband. And yes, for those of you who are paying attention, this is the shirt I was wearing yesterday.
Oh my gosh. Really?
Yeah, because I did a Seacon review of the Beast Wars 2
Oh.
Seacons, 3.5 hour review, live review. I'm going to try to start doing these live videos on YouTube um, a little bit more because I don't have the energy, I don't have the time, and I don't have the technology to edit.
Get
So
the edits.
I'm just going to try and have fun with it to get the things out that I want to say. And I mean, I'm not Thew, I'm not Exilian XLR. You know, they don't have kids, and that's not a slight against them, but it also means that I don't have
You're
any
lucky.
of the stuff I need to, other
No,
than a
they're
ring
lucky.
light, which
That's
you got,
yeah.
and you can see in our glasses. So that's our claim to high end technology for the
Right.
process.
That's not the aliens coming to take us that the
The
government has now
robot
acknowledged
aliens,
publicly.
yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Man, I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going. I mean, it won't be as cool as transforming robots, but
Well, we can only hope.
so we are doing our spoiler review
Mm-hmm.
of right.
Spoiler.
What? Hang on.
Spoiler.
Oh, you're laying down that it's a spoiler review.
Spoilers. Yeah, you have 5 seconds to turn it off now.
Not really. I mean, I do want to cover a couple of non-spoiler things for anybody who wants to watch the start of the review and then stop it and come back to it later, if that's
Okay.
something you want to do. Um, Rise of the Beast review. We just watched it 2 days ago. We haven't had a chance to sit down and review it, but it's still in there, so I want to get it out. Um,
Yeah, I've been stewing
Itching.
on it.
Yeah,
I've
So, overall, I think I would rate the film a 7.5 or an 8. Um, I think it's better than 4 out of the 5 Bayverse films, for me personally.
Oh.
I like it better than 2007. I don't like it more than Dark of the Moon. Dark of the Moon has a 12-year advantage, but I also think for me, Dark of the Moon is a better film. And I do mean that in terms of script, story, execution, music, etc. I think Dark of the Moon is a better film.
Wasn't Dark of the Moon the one that was made during the writers' strike?
You always get it confused with Revenge of the Fallen.
Oh.
Dark of the Moon is the one with Sentinel Prime.
Yeah.
And yeah, Revenge of the Fallen was the one that
Do you know
had
what it
no
is?
script.
Do you know what it is? It's because Revenge of the Fallen makes me go, that's Sentinel Prime, because he fell from grace.
Well,
but he didn't.
The Fallen is called that because he was also a Prime. That there are no other good Primes in Bayverse, and arguably not even Optimus. But not to get too heavy into Bayverse, I do think Dark of the Moon has a better script, and yes, I do think people misinterpret it for what it is. There is a modicum of script depth to it. Um, One of the reviews I watch on YouTube a lot is Mr. Sunday Movies. And they were just kind of dogging on it. And I get it. I get like just dumping on Bayverse films. I do get it as a Bayverse fan. I do get it. But they were talking about how Dylan Gould got Sam hired at the only company that could get him on the trail of what the Decepticons are doing. But like that was the point. They needed Sam to figure out what the Decepticons were doing so that Optimus would go get Sentinel and revive Sentinel. They needed Sam to find Sentinel so that Optimus could bring him back because he was the key to the Decepticon plan. Like there was an actual Decepticon plot in that movie. And I feel like in this film, the bad guys don't really have a plot. And I don't think any of the Transformers films, the bad guys they've had a thing they wanted to get, but in Dark of the Moon, it's the only one where there was scheming. You know what I mean? And that scheming, man, that gets me. When it feels like the bad guys are actually doing a thing too, not just being the bad guys, killing the good guys to go get the thing, which is more or less what this was, as in on the bad guy end of things.
I guess that makes sense. I, I just don't really argue story with you. You're
It's
his higher education is literally in creative writing. Like, he's got a master's in creative writing. He has studied pointedly and put ridiculous amounts of money into pointedly studying story structure, plot, character design, blah blah blah. You're gonna be wrong. Just don't argue with him. He knows better.
Somebody just got in an argument with me on Instagram where they're like, "Do you know how things are made? Do you know that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have a master's in this stuff." And his response was literally, "That's what I thought," like as though I said no, but I was like, "No, that's whatever." Like, you just don't argue with people online. It's not
Okay.
it's not a good look for anyone, no matter how right or wrong you are. It's not a good look. So I got caught in that trap. Don't do that. But do you have any non-spoiler things to say about the movie?
I really enjoyed it. There, I we took our son.
Yes.
It was his first movie.
It's
So
his first movie experience. Did a pretty good job too at 3 years old. So.
honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, 6 or a 7.
I didn't feel bad about it
Wasn't
because I
terrible.
felt like it's sort of also a kids movie,
Yeah,
and in that sense, a family movie. And then there was another kid there on our same row, and it
acting
was just like,
exactly the same way.
and like he wasn't being loud or anything, but
Nobody was loud. They didn't sit still.
yeah. So
And we went early in
that
the
was
day, so the theater was. We weren't bothering.
yeah.
a
We
whole
we
lot
got
of
the
other
the
people.
first showing,
Yeah.
4 o'clock on Thursday. I had it. I took the day off. I took Friday off. I took Monday off because I didn't know how hit I would be. But that's just such a like.
That's
What
such
was
a
it?
you thing
I'm
to
gonna
do.
take 5 days off to see how this film impacts me. I don't know. Anyway,
I enjoyed the heck out of it. But that being said, because we took the 3-year-old, I did miss 2 big chunks right at the beginning
you
and
missed the opening monologue about the Dark God Unicron, which you didn't miss anything really, other than the mention of the transwarp key, which I was like, by the way, there's
This
a
is what
transwarp
it
key, and they
is.
said it like immediately after that. So
and so I missed the first 2,
you missed the
3
intro
minutes.
of Ape Link.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a spoiler. Sorry. Ape Link's in the movie.
And I missed like the beginning of Act 3.
Yeah, you missed some good stuff in Act 3.
So I missed honestly probably the 2 biggest parts of the movie I really wanted to see that I was there for. But aside from that, I feel like the movie was good. The characters were well thought out, both human and robot. They were very well developed, very well thought out, very well performed. No spoilers. I was telling Mike that something I really, really liked is that there's no clown in this one. Like, the Bayverse films all have that one silly guy who's like there specifically to be silly.
It was John Turturro in the first one. It was John Turturro in the second one, and the roommate and the twins.
Yeah, everybody was
Wheelie?
just funny, and then
God.
in the 4th one, it was that guy who died basically immediately.
No, I wanted. Oh man, you know what pissed me off so bad about Age of Extinction was the whole movie of Revenge of the Fallen. I was like, please, please, just let Leo take a stray bullet. The roommate, just the whole movie, and he's sitting in the back of the car in the final act, and he's freaking out, and I'm like, please, Starscream, put a laser through the back window of that car. I wanted him to die the whole movie, and then 4 comes out, and I'm like, the uncle character is funny, a little creepy, but really funny and to watch, and he dies. And I feel like he was in response to Leo. They're like, we'll write an annoying character that dies, but he was funny. I like that actor.
Yeah.
Like, I was just,
No, I
you
like.
guys couldn't get that right at all.
I love that there was no specific. I'm just here to be the
No
clown
goobers.
character, but every single character got their
A joke in.
her waka waka moment.
All but like I think 3. Yeah,
Yeah, there
we
were like
got.
2 or 3. Even Optimus got a waka waka moment.
You mean Primal?
No.
Oh, you missed the Primal one. You were in the bathroom. That's right.
Oh, did I really?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, everybody, and it was natural. Like they weren't even forced. It was like I would say that in a conversation. Like that's something I would drop. That okay, that's good.
I will say the thing I thought was going to be the worst character-wise in this movie ended up being one of the best things. I don't think Pete Davidson is funny. He actually really annoys me. Mirage was a good time. And like I was reading reviews where people were saying like he steals the show. No, he does.
No,
Coming from
yeah.
someone who hates Pete Davidson as a performer, very much he stole the show.
He did a really good job.
So I gotta get hats off to him. That was a really fun performance.
Yeah. If you are a Beast Wars fan and you know Beast Wars characters and there are Beast Wars characters you are sad are not in the show, I'm not gonna say who is, who isn't, why, whatever, but I will say it makes sense that certain cast members got left out because their personality, their style, their
Doesn't fit.
it was filled by a different person, by a different character.
Well, and we've talked about this before. Rat Trap's Beast Mode, not really movie material, and I feel like maybe later on down the line, but I see why he got cut from this. I really do, because their personalities don't carry over, and you can see that from the trailers.
Yeah.
That you don't even have to see the movie to they're sentinel characters. They're not, the goofy fun characters from the cartoon. If you're a Beast Wars fan, you have to walk into this going, it's not Beast Wars. Like, I'm actually really disappointed with a huge chunk of the Beast Wars fandom because so many people are like, it's not. Yeah, of course it isn't Beast Wars. It's this thing. It's this new thing that references Beast Wars but is not Beast Wars.
I mean, how long did you and I have conversations where you were sending me like whatever new release image it was and I was like, my heart is broken. I don't want to go see this movie. Why did they do my boys like that? Like
I think there's a part of me too that remembers and still sees to this day new instances of this, of the hardline G1ers just absolutely not getting over the 2007 movie designs.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's still people that just won't shut up about it. Look, this isn't a prequel Star Wars situation. It's not the same continuity. People who are mad about the prequels are mad because the continuity changed. This is, it's not Beast Wars. Just either enjoy it for what it is or don't watch it. No one's forcing you to watch it.
Yeah. If you're going in wanting the 90s Beast Wars experience, you're not going to get that.
Duh. Duh.
What you will get, though, is some redemption for some of what the 90s Beast Wars should have done and didn't.
Okay, I'm interested to hear about that.
Spoilers.
I
don't want to get deeper because it will get into spoilers.
My last non-spoiler point is I really enjoyed the experience of watching it, but it didn't leave a huge impact after. And I think part of that was hurt. And I feel like what I'm about to say is an analog for the wider spectrum of what's going to happen long term, or like the fallout of this is I had seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3 just a few days before, less than a week.
And you won't shut up about it. You have not shut up about that movie.
Guardians 3, it hits hard. It hits hard. And it's still selling out. Like, we bought our tickets before the movie and the three of us couldn't sit next to each other because it was that sold out. That many 3 or 4 weeks late, like a month later.
So this movie is that good and he still hasn't taken his wife.
We had to see Rise of the Beasts. So I think Rise of the Beasts is really going to be hurt by that. So just, if you're on the fence about which movie to see, go see Guardians.
I did leave having really enjoyed it, but not having been affected, like not being hit. But I thought that was because I missed the two big chunks that I did,
Nah.
and because I was distracted for half of the film, even when I was watching it, by the child.
This is why I say Dark of the Moon's better, because I feel like Dark of the Moon took me on a journey. I don't feel like this movie took me on a journey. Like it literally traveled, from New York to Peru to, I think
To
that was it. But
place
like
to place.
the story itself didn't feel like a journey, and Dark of the Moon did. There were twists and turns, and there was an emotional connection with the bad guy. And it's the only Transformers movie that has an emotional connection with the bad guy. The
Well,
Fallen, Megatron, Quintessa, Lockdown, none of them have any emotional connection with any of the main characters except for Sentinel Prime.
see, Dark of the Moon just made me mad. I was mad at everything in that whole.
You hated Rosie. You hated that Megan Fox was gone.
I liked Megan Fox's character. I hated that she was gone. I did
She
not
was
like.
a decent character.
I did not like Rosie's character. I did not like that actress's performance. I did not like what they did to Sam.
I
as
actually
hell,
like Sam in that movie, like to a degree.
I do not like the big fights, the big like fourth act fight. I did not like the visuals on it. I could never follow it. I sure as hell did not like the freaking execution scene
Of Q. Poor little Q.
Like there was just so much
And
in that
Ironhide.
movie. I was like, what are y'all doing? Why are you doing this? I did like like the flying squirrel suits through Chicago.
Oh, and yeah. Well, so much of
love
that movie
that.
is like the layers of the excuse me, the layers of the action. Like because there's so much practical versus CG and the blend of the two and the types of action, like the squirrel suits and and like just the different types of things they were doing. And you really don't get this one was very much modern blockbuster where it's a big CGI battle at the end. And that's kind of it. You don't have the different Dark Moon had the soldier guys coming in and then the seal guys coming out of the water and then the Autobots and Sam met up with the Autobots at the start of the battle and you got these guys fighting here and like everything's kind of like whirling around to the finale and you don't get that I think out of any of the others.
I will say what I liked about this one is a trend that I do see modern films doing that I really enjoy. I don't think films are doing it well every time. I feel like this one did it pretty well is that it's layering those genres.
Oh, in what capacity?
So this one was as much a treasure hunt movie as it was which you don't like treasure hunt movies and I love treasure hunt movies, so I love this movie.
The only emotion I have to any treasure hunt movie is when you put on that god-awful Uncharted movie. And I was really just like barely paying attention the whole time. It was so dull. It was so mid. It was so bleh. And then I got so mad in the final act because they find these ancient ships and destroy them. And I get like what they were going for because like you can see the thought process. Somebody was like, I want to have a scene where two airplanes are hauling two ships and they're just it was like Declan with
air.
two like freaking it was a child. It was, but then you actually have to like apply that to the logic of the story and the world, and you're like, these ancient artifacts are wrecked by these main characters who I now originally felt nothing for and now objectively hate because they're just and so that's like that's the biggest emotion I have toward any treasure hunt movie is absolute hate. So yeah. I will say the treasure hunt in this movie is it's very surface level.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in this movie where I was like, if they leaned more into the genre of what this scene is doing, it would hit a lot better. But it's more like there's like one point where the humans are running from freezers. That's the name of the little guys. And
okay. Because those things were objectively horrifying.
And I felt like they were just kind of there. And I was like, if they put a little bit more alien into this, a little bit more of that. But at the same time, I also remember it's just, a midsummer blockbuster. So, like, I'm weighing that. But, like, and then you think about Dark of the Moon that was like, we're going to do squirrel suits and we're going to have the seal guys and the other, and it's like you could have gone hard. you really could have, and they just, you know, I get it, but at the same time,
it did have a very cartoon feel to it, a little bit.
which isn't necessarily bad, but in this
'Cause
context, it's an insult.
Straight up, some cartoons hit. Some cartoons.
Beast Wars.
Beast Wars.
We've been here.
Override.
You gonna be alright? You gonna get that tattoo?
I am getting that tattoo.
Is it gonna be on the left wrist?
Yeah, right here.
That's gonna hurt. She wants to get, for the YouTube people who haven't been listening to the podcast, she wants to get Dinobot's face and then negative override.
We're just figuring out the exact design. Is it going to be robot face or dino face? Or am I just going to get that hammer with negative and override?
I think you should get the robot face in the style of Candace Centora. Wait, am I
getting... Do you know, I've been thinking of messaging her and saying, will you just design this for me, please?
I think I got her last name wrong. Because I'm late. I'm tired.
You're late.
But no, like in that, because she does the chrome coloring so well on her work. Ooh. And she does all that with like colored pencil or whatever. Like she's all like physical mediums. Love her work. If you haven't heard of Candace Santora, she might be the best Beast Wars fan. Because A, she's super into it. B, it has inspired and evolved her art to just crazy levels. And C, she flippin' hates Beast Machines. Like, I don't even talk to her about Beast Machines because I know there's going to be a wall. And that is not an insult. It's
not even happening.
Me working on, like, my Beast Machine stuff, that's my thing. And that's her angle, and that is totally legitimate. I understand.
I wish I could build a wall.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've already actually recorded our Beast Machines episode 1 podcast. I just haven't yet to edit it, so.
That will be happening soon.
So I think I'm done with non-spoilers and the one accidental Ape Link spoiler.
Okay, so at 22 minutes and 20 seconds, turn it off if you don't want spoilers. 22 minutes, 20 seconds.
We're at 22:25 already, so.
Last chance.
Okay. Ape Link's in the movie.
Ape Link is in the movie. I don't know who Ape Link is.
So I believe, if I'm not wrong, I believe he is the first official BotCon character appearance in any movie. He is a repaint of Transmetal Optimus Primal. And he's a BotCon release from 1997, 98, really? I think. So that's just a really great, like when they said Ape Link, I went, because I thought it was like pre-Earth Optimus Primal. Because his face looked a little different. I was like, oh, he must be like a space gorilla, and then he'll go to Earth and scan and look a little bit more like an Earth gorilla. And no, it was a different dude. And he absolutely immediately got killed. But like, oh, you know who voiced him? Depth Charge. Oh, I already told you that, didn't I?
I think I could hear it in the whole like minute and a half that
I didn't know it until I went back on David Sobolov's page. Last name pronunciation pending.
He was badass though. Didn't he have some solid lines? Do I not remember looking at you and being like, "Oh, that was a line"?
I don't remember what he said. I just remember the sacrifice thing.
I do.
The theme of sacrifices in this movie.
Oh my god, your sacrifice is our oath.
Yeah, that's it. That's good lines. We will get to Airraiser. My girl. My girl.
Airraiser. I will say the one thing I really, really liked about that opening scene is honestly the brutality of it. When Scourge just blew Ape Link basically.
Yeah, he like did the shoulder cut and then I think he shot him or something.
And then ripped off his emblem. So Scourge. The first intro.
Dinklage. Peter Dinklage.
That was Peter Dinklage?
Through like clearly a massive synthesizer, but yeah. Old Dinky boy.
I love him.
That was not a size thing. I just was making a fun thing on his name.
No, he's amazing.
Yeah, that was not meant to be a size joke.
Anyway, no, he's holy crap. Holy crap. That guy's...
the nemesis of Willow.
Jesus God
Taking
almighty.
away all of Willow's actors' roles in Hollywood.
I mean, he's
got the range.
Talent.
He's a talented actor.
Oh
Thank
my
God for Game
God.
of Thrones. Thank God for Game of Thrones, because like, would he really have been discovered and be anywhere near the level he's at now?
Well, he was doing films before Game of Thrones.
Right,
Like,
no, I
a
know that, but what I'm
bunch,
saying is that like it elevated him.
Well,
He's a household name. He was not before.
honestly, I don't know.
At least as far as I could tell.
I think Peter Dinklage is to Game of Thrones as Harrison Ford was to Star Wars. Like, yes, it helped. It helped a lot. It was the thing that launched him, but come on, that's a star that was made to shine. We were gonna see it anyway.
Maybe. I mean, you say that, but there are plenty of actors, and none that I can think of off the top of my head, where I've seen them in something and gone like, why didn't they go anywhere? They were in a bad film. They gave a great performance, but you know. Or they were in Star Wars and weren't Ewan McGregor or Harrison Ford, or Adam Driver. Because like each trilogy puts out one megastar, and that's it.
Oh no, but oh my God, I want to work with that man. I want to meet and work with him so bad.
Dinklage or Adam Driver?
Oh, both. But since we're on the topic of Dinklage right now, Dinklage specifically. But one of the things I noticed, like, immediately as Scourge is coming out of the forest, which great cinematography on that scene.
Oh, the lights.
Holy crap. Yes. And then his whole, like, he has this, like, serial killer thing where every time he kills somebody, he takes their alliance emblem. Mm-hmm. Neighbors are shooting off fireworks because they're...
Because we're in Indiana.
Ugh. But I loved that, like, creepy-ass collection that he had that then ended up on the grill of his car later, like all of the toys in the third Toy Story movie.
Yeah.
On the grill of the garbage truck. What the fuck? But no, what I noticed about Scourge almost immediately is he had Ultron vibes.
Ooh. Ultron, really underrated Marvel villain.
Yeah.
Who I didn't like the first time out when I saw it in like 2015. Because I was expecting a different movie, because they advertised a different movie. And then we did a Marvel rundown 1 or 2 years ago, and I was like, this movie's good.
Yeah, like... he was like, don't watch it, it's no good. I was like, I've always wanted to see it, because it's an intriguing idea to me that it was marketed, and don't watch it. I fell asleep in it, don't watch it.
Who's the voice actor?
Blacklist guy.
Very different show. Very different.
Wow.
But both good.
Also went through the Stargate.
Yeah. I can't think of his name. I feel like that's an actor that is really good that didn't get like James Spader, which I think is technically a household name, but like not in the modern day.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like he's one of those ones that like if Stargate had been received better, or if he'd done SG-1, which...
That was a great show. That was just a great show. It was a show.
It was a show.
Fun.
It was. I don't know if it was great.
It was so fun.
I feel like he'd be one of the ones where if like he'd been discovered or been in the right film, he could have been elevated. Just because of how good he is at bad guys. I never would have thought James Spader would have been a good bad guy. When I heard he was cast as Ultron, I was like, what are you talking about? And then I hated Ultron, the movie, you know, for so long because of the misnomer or the ads not conveying what the movie was, because it portrayed it as a really dark, edgy film, and there's an edge to it, but it's
like it was still a Marvel movie, but
it's so much more self-discovery than that, and it portrays him as this like maniac, psycho killer, you know, Saw type, Slade from Teen Titans type bad guy.
Which
he is
Scourge
not
is.
that.
Scourge is.
Yeah, Scourge really reminded me of, well, two characters actually. His personality reminded me of Age of Extinction Lockdown a lot. But better, I didn't like Age of Extinction Lockdown.
I remember absolutely nothing from Age of Extinction.
That's probably a good call.
Except for the blonde dude getting frozen to death, I think. Is that how he died?
I don't know if he was blonde. No, he got hit with a transformium grenade, which is a thing I've said now. Lockdown has grenades that turn whatever into transformium.
Oh.
I don't know.
So Scourge,
Is good.
really good.
I al-
Really terrifying.
I also think Scourge at the production phase was probably the Fallen. And because of Revenge of the Fallen, they decided to go with
that.
a unit. Have I? Okay. They
Well,
probably
to me.
have. Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I don't remember saying that to you. They probably went. My memory's really bad. They probably went with the name of a Unicron minion rather than the Fallen, because if you notice, like when he walks out of the woods, he's got that energy and that light up energy, which is a Fallen thing. He went to another dimension and got bombarded with like evil energies and came back as the Fallen, with flames constantly erupting from his seams. And
That's cool.
they kind of did it in Revenge of the Fallen. Like he would breathe and his chest would expand and it would give it like this like heated vent look, but it was minimal.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing Scourge was originally, and especially when you consider that he turns into a semi truck cab, like Optimus does, like the Prime of the series does, echoing a Prime, echoing. So and I'm fine with him being Scourge. He's good. So I would love to see a good Fallen done though. Like, absolutely would love to see a good Fallen. Haven't yet, but we'll see.
We can still keep hoping.
Anyway, I think you got a point on Scourge.
That he was terrifying and amazing and wonderful, and he's everything a Transformers villain needed to be. And I do feel like they cartoonified him a little bit, because I feel like they backed off on how just existentially horrific he could have been.
I wonder also if he maybe wasn't intended to be Tarn, but then they realized he wasn't a Decepticon.
Oh,
the dude with the
See
Decepticon.
some Tarn, yeah.
Because he gets his mask blown off at one point, and like that Tarn face, that's not his face. That's a mask he wears. Oh, of course you know Tarn from Cyberverse.
Yeah, yeah.
Which has Ultron vibes, which may be where you get it from.
No, there's something about him in this film specifically, and like the way he talks and the way the animation model moves. And I hate to say it, it makes me feel creepy, but
it's not going to the TFP thing. Can we not go to the TFP thing, please? This movie avoided Transformers Prime by making Earth not Unicron.
Something about the hip
design
this part. And the way it moves.
Optimus Prime's creepy hips in Transformers Prime ruined a generation of people.
No. I'm not even talking about TFP. I'm talking about.
I know, but that's
Ultron's hips. There's something about the Ultron hip area design that was echoed in the Scourge hip area design that I was kind of like, robot butt.
Moving on, I guess I can cross off Ape Link. I will say that in this movie, we've got our trio of Decepticons. We had a trio of Decepticons kind of in Bumblebee. There was Blitzwing, who got extremely blitzed by Bumblebee when B stuck the missile in his chest. And then Knock something, I don't know, Shatter and Dropkick in Bumblebee.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people really like them, and I don't know why. They were so...
Shatter and Dropkick?
Yeah, I never really cared for them. Like, there was just something really lacking, and I cannot, to this day, figure out what I don't like about them. I can't tell if it's their design or their personality or what they do. There's just something about their dynamic I didn't like that was lacking for me personally.
Oh, I really liked them in Bumblebee. I don't know that I had any exposure to them previous to that.
They don't exist really previous to that.
Okay, well, there you go.
Like, the closest I think existence of Dropkick is the non-character movie toy from 2007. It turned into a pickup truck.
I'm lost. Why are we talking about Bumblebee?
Because that's the movie before this.
Okay.
And also we're talking about the Decepticon or the Terracons, the Terracon trio and comparing them to the prior film. Whereas
Gotcha.
I didn't like, there wasn't anything like super special about these three, but there was something about them that just worked for me better than Shatter and Dropkick did.
Mm. Yeah, I will agree with that. There was something that worked better. Um,
And it felt to me like they were a lot thinner. Because tell me something about Nightbird. And they literally never even mentioned Battletrap's name.
well,
Like you can't tell me, but there's just
Nightbird,
something that works better about them.
Nightbird, I can't be objective with because I think I told you this. Every time I hear her name, I remember that girl who was on America's Got Talent,
Oh, the really the girl with cancer. Oh,
Nightbird, who had
tragic
just the
story.
most amazing voice. Her stage name was Nightbird. And
I'm really glad Transformers didn't try and like slap her with a copyright. Because Nightbird has existed since G1. Like they really could have, and like probably wasn't even on their radar. And even if it was, it probably wasn't.
yeah,
You
it
know,
was it
but
was
like her story
hard.
was tragic.
It was hard to not just be like every time I heard her name and then stop paying attention to whatever the Transformer was doing on screen. Honestly. Oh, but also, um, just for your edification, Nightbird is no longer a villain.
Yeah, she's pieces.
No, she's a good guy. Your son has decided.
He
She's
decides who's a good guy and a bad guy in this house.
he does.
He,
And
he's like no,
Nightbird.
he's like no. Rampage is a good guy. I was like, you have not met this man. He is not a good person.
Well, he is adamant that Nightbird is a good guy. So, just moving forward.
You know, I'm thinking of that now. Did they put a Decepticon symbol on her? I feel like they did, but I'm looking at it now. No, they didn't. Okay, they
Yeah,
didn't.
she was just. Who was the other in the trio? The tow truck.
Battle Trap. They didn't even name him.
Do you know he at least had that badass tow truck? Like his vehicle form had.
Yeah, her car. Like you blink and you miss it, but there it is. Kind of. I meant for you, but yeah, because the podcast people can't see it. Some sort of Nissan something or another. Low road or not low road. low what do you call it? Why am I not
Low rider?
low not low is it low rider? Because that's
I don't know.
maybe it is low rider. That was making me think of the pants thing from the late 90s, but whatever.
A Nissan something with a fin.
Made of
Which
sword.
I'm sorry, Nissan something should never have a fin. I mean, it looks like a Honda Civic that somebody
got
was
a
like,
body kit on it.
I'm gonna trick it. I'm gonna trick out my Civic.
You know, I want a Decepticon like that, and then their personality matches. Like it's the douchebag at 4 a.m. that you wish you were close enough to punch, and they're in a movie where they get punched by Bumblebee. Give me that Decepticon.
Oh Lord.
Like we just had one who rolled by like before we started this, like 5 minutes before, and I was just like,
You.
But no, the con trio in this really, I think they work individually and so much better for me. In a way that, and you know, maybe it's because Bumblebee's a lot thinner, so more of the movie has to ride on their personality and what those characters are doing, and I just didn't care. Like
there was something about Scourge and his two that were, and
there was a viciousness to them that Shadow and Dropkick didn't have.
Yeah, and I may
and
be
those
reaching,
and they were vicious characters.
but like their dynamic too, a little bit. It was a little bit Scar and the hyenas before the hyenas turned on him.
Yeah,
Ish.
I guess.
Like there was a loyalty and like there was chemistry among the characters themselves that kind of made you go, oh.
You know what? It may have been Shatter and Dropkick's introduction, because they show up on Earth and they destroy that guy's car and then they kill him, but they leave his girlfriend. And I was just like, why didn't you kill her? Like, it's not that I want you to kill her too. It's just that
just what logic here is.
Yeah, like it hurt the film, like plot wise. It's like, well, now she's going to tell people there are robots and there's evidence that
Mm-hmm.
something crashed in, like there's
Something
two
happened.
impact points right near her,
Yeah.
and there's like human goo everywhere that like there's got to be DNA or something in that. Like it's just
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
not in the 80s, baby.
We had DNA in the 80s. We didn't.
Not really.
I still didn't like them. So I don't know. Um I wasn't sure what the maximal world was. Like, as at the start of the movie, I thought maybe they were on prehistoric Earth, but then the
I
planet
was
gets destroyed. I
confused too, but I thought it was because I missed the beginning.
No, you didn't, unless I missed something, which is possible because I was keeping an eye out for you. She had to go get sodas because Declan was thirsty.
All through the trailers, he was just fine.
Yeah,
Sat eating his popcorn. It was so freaking cute.
it's almost like there was a clue that that was coming.
I saw him eating that and I was like, we really should have gotten some water. And then right as the movie started, I'm thirsty.
They did mention that they're from the future and went to the past. So they clearly used the transwarp key from whatever point in our future to go to our past on Earth. And it so I made me wonder if maybe the world they were on, and this is a stretch, but it could have been future Cybertron. Because we're tapping the Beast Machines lore, Cybertron gets technorganized, which is a word,
Oh.
and that technically could be like maybe they were just in one of the really foresty regions. Because they keep saying that their world was destroyed, but it's like they're Cybertronians, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or maybe it's just Planet Mac. Oh, you know what it probably is? It just hit me. I haven't seen the Cybertron cartoon. It's the third installment of the Unicron trilogy, but there is a jungle planet that produced, the blue and white wolf I have, where
Mm-hmm.
he's got like a wolf head for a hand. He's from Jungle Planet. And it's got different names. Not Animagus, because that's Potter. That's Harry Potter. But it's like Animatron or something. I think that's an Animatron.
Oh.
That may be that planet, Jungle Planet from the Cybertron show. I'll bet it is. I'll bet that was the intent, or at least some inspiration.
That's one thing I do like about this film is that it's bringing in a whole lot of different elements from a whole lot of different series.
Yeah, I mean Maximals, Terracons, and Predacons, which are all G1 names except for Maximals, but
Yeah.
the Terracons in the Unicron trilogy, I think, were minions of Unicron. So there may, if I'm correct on that, and I'm not sure I am, they may be pulling a lot more from the UT than I would have thought. Which that's cool. I'm okay with our UT brethren.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the shows, but
I think my one complaint about this film was Ultron. Ultron? No. Unicron.
Yeah, but like I'm also okay with it because this is like Palpatine in the prequels.
He was minimal. What was that mask that he had over his like speaky hole thing?
So like when Scourge would talk to him,
Yeah,
I
because
think
you could see like he had eyes and like you could see there was a face. It was just too big to fully see. So he had this like
I just assume that's the interface.
But there was a mask at the top of that like window thing.
Oh, that was probably the Terracon symbol. Was it something like this? I think I just drew the maximal symbol. But it had like that type of a mouth piece.
Kind of?
Yeah, it kind of looked like maximal on bottom, but a little bit not maximal. I think it was probably the Terracon symbol.
Okay.
Which I don't know if he's new for this movie or not. I know they altered the maximal symbol. They gave it the Autobot little triangle cut out in the head.
I did see that.
Which I'm
wasn't
torn on.
That's fine.
That one actually bugs me the most because that affects the toys.
Really?
Yes. So like so this is the one complaint I'm willing to make all of the G1 fans in 2007 because they complained about the changing of the Autobot and Decepticon symbols, but those were like tweaks. These are like full on actual line changes, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm okay with it. But I'm it's minimal.
So the mask thing threw me with Unicron. It very much confused me. I think really beyond that, Unicron's lines and the presence that
We're
he
lacking.
has, they're just not Orson. Which is the only Unicron I know is Orson Welles.
I will
So I may be
say,
spoiled.
so I totally agree with you on those points, but they did sneak in the Unicron theme, which you were gone the morning of Thursday, but Declan and I watched
Oh, really?
the 86 G1 movie. So, and I mean, the Unicron
So it
theme
was
is in my
fresh in your...
DNA now, in my DNA anyway, but like to have heard it earlier in the day and then
And then
later,
hear it there.
and it's subtle. It's worked into the music pretty subtly. You have to know it like I do.
But that's still a big deal. That's like you were talking about on the way to the theater, we were talking about Star Wars, and you were saying that the Disneyverse has not used
The
the
Darth
Vader
Vader theme.
theme
Darth
in
Vader's appeared
anything.
in 3 different media, I think, in Disney's, not counting video games, like in moving media for Disney. Obi-Wan, Rogue One, and I want to say one other thing. And they've never used his theme, not in any capacity. And it's just like, that's a massive disrespect to the character. And yet here's Rise of the Beast, a dime a dozen summer blockbuster, is pulling out, and it's not the deepest cut in Transformers, but it is one of the best. Like the Unicron theme is just so far above artistically the franchise it comes from. Like it really is. Like, and the metal versions that people have on YouTube, oh my, just that's the
Yeah.
meatballs on my spaghetti right there. That's all I have for that. The Unicron theme is there. It's there. But no, I get his lack of involvement in this movie because he is Palpatine in Phantom Menace right now.
And you know, he
and
is...
that's fine for me. This is supposed to be a trilogy of movies, and I believe this is the first one. Bumblebee isn't the first one. It's this one.
I'm not mad about his uninvolvement. I think I'm just...
The presence is a little...
I would have liked more just make me have wanted him to be involved more.
I got people
make me mad
online complaining you didn't transform. Did you miss the point of the movie? This was the deterrent movie. This was the like keep him away right now. Like this is setting him up for whatever's coming in 2 and 3. And assuming they actually make 2 and 3, which, you know, they might not. This movie is really being hurt by Guardians and, you know, just...
But it's such a good movie.
It
really is.
I do think it's... And I don't want to say it's better than Bumblebee. Like, I can objectively say it's better than the other 4 Bayverse movies.
Bumblebee was...
But Bumblebee is a very different movie from this. So comparing them is hard.
Well, also, you got to remember Bumblebee... Talking about the layering genres thing, this one of its layers was treasure hunting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what Bumblebee was the dog movie.
Yeah, A Girl and a Horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy and his dog, girl and a horse.
Yeah, it's a very different tone.
Which I think Bumblebee, even for me, was hurt by the Cybertron scenes. And I know that everyone's like, that's the best part of the movie. Well, that's kind of also the problem with the movie. Is because I could tell from the trailers that was likely to be an issue. Because they felt like last minute additions to the movie. Like we didn't start seeing those things until like a few months before the movie came out. And they were very clearly tacked on. And I think if they'd intersperse those scenes throughout the movie
as like flashbacks when he's regaining his memory,
or even in the final scene where he like gets knocked out, has this vision, and is like, oh, now I know how to beat them, or you know, whatever, or it gives him resolve, or whatever you want to slap onto it.
I will say I really liked in this one how they gave a loose nod to the Bumblebee
to film. Charlie. Yeah, they're my friends. Yeah.
No, yeah, they're my friends. And Optimus says, I know one of them helped you.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. I know one of them helped you in the past, but we still cannot trust humans.
I will say for Optimus, I feel And I get why they did it, because one of the complaints with Bumblebee is that there wasn't enough action. And I think what the filmmakers did is they went, oh, we need more Bayverse in this movie, like tone.
Mm-hmm.
Optimus is kind of murdery in this.
But he gets pushed to it.
Well, but you can say that in every movie.
He in the Bayverses, I felt like he gets pushed kind of fast. It's not like a push, it's more like a and he's like, murder. This one no, he's very, look, we're gonna be low key, we're gonna be as not unassuming.
Obtrusive?
He's like butterfly affecting it. Like, we don't want to step on a butterfly. We don't want to bend a blade of grass. We don't want to have existed here in any capacity, any way, shape, or form.
The child is wiggling.
We don't want to be here at all. We have no presence. And he's willing to risk a lot and move more slowly in order to achieve that until Bumblebee gets friggin' murdered.
But she does.
Oh, Bumblebee gets murdered so hard.
So we jumped a little bit, because we never really...
We're not even talking about the humans yet.
We never... The human scenes are good. They're definitely better than Sam and Cade. They're not as good as Charlie, I would say. But I mean, it wouldn't take much to be better than Sam and Cade.
I think
Cade Yeager, the Boston Texan.
Oh, wait, who?
Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg playing a Texan. Someone went, yeah, that checks out. Someone, a fool, an idiot, some moron somewhere.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it.
You're from Texas.
Exactly. So shut up.
He's got a Boston accent.
Do you know how many people in Texas have a not Texas accent?
I mean,
where is my accent from?
What
do I sound like?
You had vocal training to mute your accent. He's supposed to be a born and bred.
What about my daddy?
Honey.
Does daddy sound Texas?
Honey.
Daddy sounds Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. At any rate, he certainly don't sound like he's from Boston. That's not the accent, but you get my point. It stands. Donnie's, excuse me, you're,
Mama. Mama.
She's got the Tex.
And her family are special Tex.
And you still have hints of it.
Well, I can slide into it real easy, because I heard some.
The humans in this, pretty good. Not as good as they could be. This movie does a lot of character juggling. And it's because they had to, like, establish the Autobot team, because we didn't get it in Bumblebee. Establish the Maximal team, which they didn't do too heavily, and the humans, and the villains, and all the factions, which they didn't mention Predacons, but we do get a squad of Scorponok's.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot. So, but I feel like in the time we had with the humans, as their stories are being established, they did a pretty good job.
I really like what they did with the humans, and I would argue that what they did with the humans, I think, was better than what they did with Charlie. Just because Bumblebee was the Charlie movie with Bumblebee in it. So
because the entire story begins and ends with Charlie.
So there's a lot of that. There's also the demographic, and the story was different. Whereas Bumblebee had notes of Hallmark. So Charlie and her character development had notes of Hallmark.
Like Hallmark movies. Okay.
Yeah. Had notes of Hallmark movie in it. This one was it was more wartime. Not as much, but there was some wartime to it. And it was a lot more of that treasure hunt. So you had a lot more room to work on those characters. You had a lot more room to give them full human range. And I feel like when it's a different demographic or a different genre like that, like they did a really good job on that. Also, these were adult characters. They were not teenagers.
We're gonna save our audio. Oh, you saved it in a
Yeah,
different app.
I was like, what are you doing?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll pick it back up again.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the Hallmark thing. There's the characters themselves are a completely different demographic. They're in a different area. They're adults, not teenagers. It's 10 years later.
I didn't realize that. What was he? 24 in this? I think. God, I can't even think of the main character's name right now.
Noah,
and Elena was the girl.
Noah Diaz.
I will say that he's probably, to me, the most sympathetic of the Transformers protagonists.
God, he's so sympathetic.
Elena included, as a protagonist, because each movie pretty much just has one, but this one, Noah's definitely the one, but like it juggles the two better than any other has tried. And I don't think any of the others have really tried. They've always tried to have just the one, but you feel for his situation, and I don't feel like I was in it as much as I could be, and that's, again, one of my complaints about this movie is a lot of the stuff it does, I feel like they could have gone easily harder without changing the runtime. But at the same time, I also still really sympathize with him.
I do feel like they pulled on the reins on this film a little bit.
And it doesn't feel like studio interference. It feels like a conscious choice by the writers and the directors that they wanted to be closer to the middle than at any point go too far to any of the corners.
Which is absolutely justifiable.
Being a kid's movie. Not a kid's movie, but a family movie. Because it is. They don't drop any F-bombs. I think they say shit once or twice, maybe.
Yeah.
I think, does the kid do it? Or am I having...
Tails? Chris? The little
does
brother?
He? Yeah.
I think he does.
Maybe he does, or maybe I'm pulling that from somewhere else. But either way, it's very... it's not too much at any point, except right at the end.
Yeah. When you want it to be a little harder.
Yeah. I get that feeling from, like, I remember when I was watching The Dark Knight, when it came out, I was like, just do it. Just show it. Just show, like, just him killing please. Spawn. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that covers the humans.
I like the humans. I like their depth. I like that. Do you know what this film makes me think of for the humans? There's a fairly famous story, well, semi-famous, of Patrick Stewart when he did a voice for a video game.
Captain Picard did a voice for a video game?
Yeah, and it was like a fantasy RPG thing, and it wasn't a big role. It was like 16, 17 lines, honestly. Like one, maybe two cutscenes for like a tutorial. But the creators gave him a full dossier of the character he was playing and the whole backstory and everything. Like,
and let me guess,
this guy was born.
He became the character.
He loved it. He said that was the most professional thing he had ever received. He thought it was the most amazing thing. He loved that he had the full backstory. He knew exactly what the character was supposed to be. I think he took like 2, maybe 3 days to record all of his lines. But he said that part of the speed was because he knew the character.
It was... so, I'm writing a book right now, and not as a self-promotion thing, but like, the easiest for me to write is when I have all the characters locked in.
Yeah. And
then once I start writing, I'm not writing. They're just moving. They're guiding everything. And that's the best feeling in the world. So I imagine it's something like that.
I imagine, just having watched it, having seen the end result, I feel like the writers of this film probably the directors and probably even the actors know exactly where each of these characters were born, when, what their dreams were, what their ambitions are,
You're
what
talking
their
about
nightmares.
Elena and Noah?
Yeah, Elena, Noah, Chris, even the mom, who's
Yeah.
in like a half a scene.
I can't not see that actress and not have an immediate negative response because she played the police captain in Dexter, and I
Oh,
hate her.
really?
Not the actress, just the
The
character that she
character.
played across, I think, 7 seasons, and she just wasn't likable as a character. So
I remember liking her for the 1 or 2
in
seasons I
Dexter,
watched. Yeah.
she was tied.
But
I was mad
it just,
that we got her instead of Dokes for longer because Dokes in that show is so
I don't
good.
remember Dokes. I
The
don't know
the
who
guy
that is.
that was like on to Dexter. He's like, I know there's something messed up about you, and everyone else is like, no, he's Opie. What are you talking about? But Dokes was the guy that's like, no, this guy's messed up. I'm gonna nail him to the wall one day.
I don't know that. I don't remember that. I need to watch Dexter again anyway.
Surprise, motherfucker. That me. Never mind.
Anyway, even the museum curator, I felt like had a full, lush, rich, complete.
Really? She's the one who felt the most like a Bavers character to
my
me.
God, I loved how shallow she was, but it wasn't shallow because I
So
didn't
you're
feel
saying
like
there's depth to Shallow?
I'm not saying she felt shallowly written. I felt like she was just a shallow little
person. I got what you meant.
Yeah.
I got what you meant.
And that they had a reason for her being that way. And they knew all of this story and they were like, all right, now that we have these full people, we're just going to throw them into a script. Like, this is the day that we start telling their story. Rather than these people exist from this day forward. Which you can
They did feel more like people than Sam or Cade.
Yeah.
I can't say more than Charlie, but they had more going on than
Lived
Charlie.
in. I don't really want to use that term, but
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I can't think of what I'm thinking. I can't think of what I'm thinking.
Whatever. They were real full people.
Yes.
They were 3-dimensional.
I guess what I was thinking of was the prequel environments in Star Wars.
And you talk about motivation too for Noah. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I mean that's what it is.
Oh my God.
You really sympathize with him and the position he's in, and then you find out he's a soldier and he can't get work, and like
because he went AWOL to go help his dying brother.
Vets don't get historically have not gotten treated well
No.
in this country. Vietnam being the really big example of just destroying a generation of men, and then the women who had to also deal with it. Like it's ugly situation. And obviously this is much more muted than that, but they didn't deal with any of his PTSD or anything like that. But just that whole post-war thing and just dealing with having to exist in the real world. Yeah, that's really good stuff. Adds a lot to his character.
It was oh God. And the kid playing Chris, he wasn't a great actor.
He was not a particularly good actor.
But I wanted to hug him. Like, through the whole thing, I wanted to just reach out and give that kid a hug. So he may not have been the most skilled for the position, but I think he was probably the best cast for that role.
Okay.
Because he just...
I don't mind bad child actors. And I've said this before.
I don't either.
Because when a child actor is good, part of me is impressed and part of me feels really bad for them. Because I know that, historically speaking, the really good child actors are the ones that are the most messed up. And they go one of two ways in adulthood. Really good or really bad. And there is very little,
even as
Britney Spears being able to turn that around.
Even rare, a little bit.
Rare. Yeah,
And, I mean, honestly, that's true with adult actors, too. You're either really good because your head is just mush and there is not a whole person in there at all, or you have studied your butt off to be good at what you do.
But even then, just being able to emotionally handle it. And like Jim Carrey's been coming out a lot lately where he's like, Jim Carrey isn't a real person. He's this persona I put out there. And him and Mrs. Doubtfire,
Robin Williams.
but entertainers of the highest order in my mind, because they were more than just, more than just entertainers. Their whole being went into it.
Mm-hmm.
And very few people saw the other side of that.
It's so easy to just entirely lose who you are to a role. I mean, famously, the Joker role and Heath Ledger, there is not one single actor who has portrayed who's portrayed Heath Ledger.
All one of them.
Who has portrayed Joker who didn't have horrendous nightmares and mild PTSD from the role.
I don't trust those stories. I feel like that's Hollywood sensationalism, trying to make it feel like there's more than there is. I really do. I don't buy those stories. I not to get too much into that, but anyway, the human characters. So I think that leads us up to the Eraser artifact and the Terrorcon showing up, which I was really disappointed. First scene in the movie that we're doing another artifact.
I loved Elena's big reveal. No, this isn't from the 15th century.
And she does the whole spiel.
Yeah, it's got to be much older. It's da 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 da. And the curator's like,
I guess somewhere to be.
She's like, you literally are watching it sink in, and then she's like, that's neat. Make sure to get my clothes pressed. Bye.
That one felt like a Marvel joke to me. The setup on that was too obvious. There weren't many of those. I've talked before about Marvel's just absolute devastation of humor in Hollywood, but I think that's like the one in this film that you liked it, but I didn't particularly care for it.
I liked it, I think, because of Elena's performance. That actress just draws you in. She's got so much legitimate hope in that scene and in her passion that you're like, listen, please. And then it doesn't happen, and you're like, you're a bitch. I knew it was coming, but I'm still mad.
When I see it coming, I check out. Unfortunately, I can't be emotionally. I just can't. Marvel has just ruined
everything.
That type of humor.
Everything that actress did, though, the girl playing Elena, everything that she did, I just was like, she had a way of just. She's like a black hole. You just get drawn in. You pay attention.
I don't know if I got that from her at all, but I also wasn't there for the humans. I was there for the robots.
That's fair. That's fair. So the Eraser thing comes up, and it's got, was that Cybertronian?
I mean, yeah, I would assume.
Okay.
Because I think most series have their own, like, I don't know if G1, the cartoon, has its version of Cybertronian, but Beast Wars has Maximal and Predacon Cybertronian. So there's two alphabets in that series. And then I know Bayverse has its own, the one that looks like kind of like kanji. They're all over Starscream in the second and third film. And then this one has whatever those are. I'm guessing it's this continuity's version of Cybertronian. There doesn't seem to be a universally accepted one, which is fine. So.
Okay.
But you look at me like it's a language I don't speak Huttese. I don't know. No, I don't know these things.
I meant to ask you like immediately after, and then I was like, no, I need to say that because of the podcast, because otherwise we're gonna get to talking about it. I loved that they had the antiquities expert basically being the cryptologist and learning the Cybertronian language on accident through Maximilian artifacts on Earth.
I don't know why that made me want to dab when you said Maximilian. What did you like? I don't know. No idea. Just that was what was in my heart. That's what I wanted to do. I don't know. I did like that. I feel like if we're going that far, I'm going to talk a lot about how the script could have been better, and I feel like if we're doing that, open with that.
See, I like how they didn't talk about it. It just happened.
What I'm saying is open with this girl in this situation finding this artifact, a la the Mummy kind of style of like
Oh,
the slow
yeah.
burn upward to the supernatural plot. I feel like that would have made this movie a lot better. And that's the same thing I feel about Bumblebee.
Well,
I
it
would
would
rather
have
have the
been.
slow burn up than the opening awesome. Because like the opening scene is awesome, but I also feel like it blows its load a little early.
Mm,
Just a bit.
I think that would have
Hard for
been.
Bumblebee, but soft for this one.
I think that.
Shouldn't use those terms after saying blow
No,
load.
no, no. I think that would have been a good movie, but I think the movie we got was probably still superior because because
Because
if you're going from the human side of things, if you had done that, then it would have been the Elena movie.
I'm fine with that.
And that character and that actress could have carried it. Absolutely could have carried it. The same way the Charlie actress and character could have carried it. However, I like that we got Noah. I feel like he was a more sympathetic character. And I feel like if you're going to have a sidekick human, Elena is more suited to that role. Noah needed to have been the main human.
I think I did just kind of nail down what's wrong with this movie is it doesn't have, the most successful Marvel movies are the ones that have the veneer of a different genre over the superhero genre.
Mm-hmm.
So like the spy movie in Winter
Captain
Soldier,
America.
the like that, that one stands out because of that. And I feel like Bumblebee had it too much. Obviously, it wasn't received as well, but it was the Girl and her Horse movie over the Transformers thing. And this one kind of has the curator thing. It kind of has the treasure hunt thing. It kind of has the. Does it have anything else?
It's very unlikely hero.
Yeah, which like that's all of them though. Cade, Sam, Charlie, Noah, they're all
it's not unlikely
falling upwards into this situation.
It's not the unlikely hero in that sort of anime sense, the way that Sam Witwicky
Sam was the worst.
It was so bad. No,
Sam had no contribution.
This one is more unlikely hero the way Nick Tatopoulos was unlikely in Godzilla. He was the absolute right person for the job at the time. He was in the right place, and
I feel like that's the case for Elena. And I like how they incorporated Noah, that the Autobots are like, oh no, we need a human to break in. And he also happened to be a thief. Maybe not a particularly good one yet, but like they established that he was thieving in this movie to steal that car.
Well, it was his first time.
Right, but maybe. I kind of got the impression that maybe he wants her to, I mean, like his buddy, he's friends with that guy. He has to have gleaned something. Even if he wasn't actively a thief, up until that moment.
Well, he was an expert. He was the person you wanted to be doing it because he had so much electrical training from the military. He was a wiring and electronics.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Like genius. And they established that very, very early on when he invented that cable box. Built it from scratch for a dude.
I think for himself, but yeah.
Well, he gave it to a dude.
Did he? Okay.
Outside. And so the guy could get cable without having to pay for cable.
Oh, that's right. And then it was him that got him into the car thieving.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the issue is that skill doesn't doesn't become important later on in the movie.
It really doesn't.
It's Noah's introduction to the thing.
It's what brought him to the table, but it was not a skill to be used.
Unlike Elena, who gets them to the Peru site, which gets them close to the Maximals, that gets them the other half of the key. I think it should have been the Elena movie. I really do, because I think Noah's got the more emotional story, but that buck stops as soon as he leaves New York. It's still technically his motivation, but plot-wise, it stops. And Elena continues to drive the plot forward with her knowledge and skill.
I guess I kind of figured at that point it was the tactical training that Noah had,
Which he
which
doesn't really use.
you don't show it that much. But more than that, the relationship and the chemistry he'd gotten with Mirage.
Yeah, but like you could have easily have done that with Elena and one of the robots. So I get what you're saying. That's what they chose to write, but like I feel like Elena would have been better to be in Noah's position throughout the rest of the movie, and it being her movie. Honestly, you could have just as easily had this entire script with Elena and not Noah.
Yeah, but
If you replaced if you gave his stuff to her that could have been anyone, him building a relationship with another character, any character can do that.
Yeah, but I like Noah.
I like Noah too.
I like Noah.
I'm just saying.
I don't want to cut him.
From a writing standpoint, you could have condensed them into one character, and the dominant personality have been the dominant contributor being Elena.
Although you would have had to cut out the big scene in the end.
The rebuilding, or the joining of the reveal thing at the very final scene.
The reveal.
No, you wouldn't have. Are you telling me that a covert military unit across the planet couldn't use a cryptologist?
They wouldn't have reached out to her.
Why?
Because they're combat. She would not have been combat. She would have been ops. Yes.
Why couldn't she have been a former soldier? Oh, because it's 1994. We're talking like pre or like right in GI Jane. So yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you take the core of that character, regardless of gender. You say they're this curator that's getting that, you know, and she's a secretary, I think, under a curator.
Intern.
Okay,
She's
so you
an
take this
intern.
intern, regardless of gender, former military, with a sibling who's dying. Okay. And you have the same thing. You don't need the mechanic thing, really.
I think that's putting too much on one character.
I think if you're trying to do the rebuilding of Mirage at the end of the movie...
No, and that wouldn't have worked, because if they were military and then an intern, you would have had to make her 4 years older than she was, because she would have had to spend the time in the military and then have had the education, because you can't do them at the same time.
You tied that into her character. I went into the military. I didn't get any opportunities after. I had to get the education. I started late. Now I'm a late intern, and nobody wants to give me a real shot because they all think I'm too old to be in this position. So I'm not moving out of this intern position, and no one's taking me seriously.
Yeah, that would make your person like 30 years old.
So?
And then you wouldn't have the money issue, because if she went AWOL, then she wouldn't have been able to get her VA benefits to pay for school. No. And nobody wants to watch a 30-year-old intern running around with robots. No.
I mean, I mean,
you might want to.
We're spitballing right now. I think there's a way to do it. And I think this having been the Elena movie would have been stronger. Because she drives the plot more than Noah does. Noah has more of a Sam vibe after New York, where he's just the guy that's there. Whereas Elena actually is contributing.
But he's not. No. His military training takes hold when Mirage dies.
Well, and that's what I was saying. Like, that's
His
why
combat.
you combine those characters and have the military.
Spoiler, Mirage dies.
Mirage dies. We're in spoiler territory, so it's okay. So anyway, the Terracons show up, and that's the scene in the museum where I was like, if this leaned a little bit more... And I was worried about Declan, because I knew the jump scare was coming, and like I prepared him for it, and I was like, it's okay, it's okay. I think he took it well, so I get why they didn't lean into it more, but also I think as a film it could have been better.
I didn't take it well.
Maybe I'm just...
So, no, Scourge's little things, what did you call them?
The freezers?
Those things freaking terrify me.
You hate spiders, and they have 6 limbs.
They have the trifecta of everything horrible to be nightmarish.
I never really got a vibe from them.
Oh my god.
We never got a good look at them. I didn't...
So, A, they're small. And you and I have talked about that before with Jurassic Park. That
Yeah, the little ones are more terrifying.
because you can't hide from them. A T-Rex, like, just go into a big building, he's not going to see you.
Right.
But a raptor freaking will. A compy, you can lock yourself in the bathroom and they're going to come through the air vent and then you're locked in there with a compy. You're screwed. So A, they're small.
The intimacy of a smaller villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
They're spiders with basically necks and human faces, which just...
You know what? They really reminded me of Frenzy from the first movie. The boombox?
Oh, yeah. A little bit.
Yeah. But I felt like he was there, and I never really got the vibe that they were there. Like, to me, they didn't feel
And that's
present.
kind of what's the third element of the trifecta that is so terrifying, is they're very Fahrenheit 450 whatever Hound, which I know you haven't read that book.
The Bloodhound Missile.
No, it's not a missile.
No. I was on my review of the Seacons from yesterday. I was talking about Sea Phantom and how he's a Bloodhound Missile. That idea I had for Jetstorm.
Yeah, like, okay.
That was inspired by our dog, because when she runs, it's just like she has like a thruster blazing out her butthole. Just,
yeah, and she's low to the ground, and she gets like aerodynamic, like she folds up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. You need to read Fahrenheit 451. It's a quick read. It's really, really good. But there is a machine in it that is basically this silent ninja spider that they call the Hound.
Okay.
And it grabs you and it wraps around you and it injects a needle into you that like has it's a lethal injection. But the way they describe this thing is very much the way that these freezer things
move.
And they're silent, and you just kind of turn around and there's two glowing eyes and you're like, oh!
I did like the shot of Elena against the pillar and it's above her and its eyes are on, and then it cuts to her face and then it cuts back and it's gone, and I'm like, why didn't it just jump on her?
Yeah.
That like on a action
it was,
logic thing, I was like, why didn't you just, she's right there. Why'd you leave?
That's one of the things they could have leaned into and made it a super horror film.
Yeah.
In that way, and they didn't, and thank God they didn't, because
I feel like that scene would have benefited from it just as a movie. But, you know, I also get it because I had a 3-year-old there too, and so
I was worried that we were going to be dealing with nightmares and stuff for him, and we did not.
No, he enjoyed the heck out of the film. So
he couldn't watch the second Jurassic Park, which I've always felt
we did turn that off, didn't we?
Yeah, I've always felt that was watered down. Oh God.
I feel like we made it pretty far the way through, but
no, we didn't. The mommy and daddy T-Rex pushed the car over the cliff, and
was that the point?
Yeah, and he was like, please turn it off, and so we did.
Okay, so just as a family film, Jurassic Park 2 crossed the line, but this one not really. So yeah. I get it. I get the lack of intensity. There's other stuff I feel like they could have leaned genre-wise that wouldn't have been a problem for children. But so the Terracons show up, have a pretty kick-ass little battle out in the parking lot. Mirage turns into a garbage truck.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, Mirage. Everything Mirage. Mirage is... Love Mirage!
So I actually had a discussion with someone on Instagram, like, or wherever, about, like, how does he turn into a garbage truck mass-wise? And it's like, my guess is Mirage turns into the cab. And then everything back is a Mirage.
I thought maybe the whole thing was a Mirage.
Well, no, because Noah was like interacting with the door and whatnot.
Okay.
So some of it had to be real, and my guess is like he made
Noah's in his little shell game that he did on this.
Right, but those were holograms. You wouldn't have been able to touch them.
Okay, what door was Noah interacting with then?
The garbage truck door when he got out of it.
Oh, I didn't remember
Like he
that.
was, he was holding onto the wheel and whatnot.
So he was probably the cab, and then everything behind it was
Yeah.
Mirage. Yeah.
And we know they can balance on two wheels. RC does it. Sideswipe did it. The RC triplets all over
time.
one. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
it's plausible.
No, I love Mirage, but for Beast Wars fans, Mirage is the reason Rat Trap is not in this movie.
No, he isn't. Because even if they put Rat Trap in the movie, he wouldn't have that personality.
I'm just saying.
He wouldn't have. No.
No, you can't have a giant rat and not have the Rat Trap personality. It just will not work.
I mean, they had Rhinox and didn't
Mirage.
give him any personality, so.
Yeah, but that one's easier.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
What I mean is, a rat is a very ugly thing. And these Beast Wars, or the Beast Warriors, were ugly already.
What's your argument?
I did not like their design.
They didn't. Yeah, there was no. To me, there was no creativity in their design. To me, it feels like the idea that someone would have come up with for a Beast Wars movie in 2007 on DeviantArt. There's no.
Yeah.
Like, people were comparing it to Beast Machine's designs because it's techno-organic. No. The Beast Machine's designs had their own style.
It does kind of look like they've got armor plating over fur or over organic, and like the fur is poking out. I do not like the look, personally.
It's not...
Either way, if that's the design you're going with, you cannot do a giant rat. Otherwise, he's going to be so disgusting.
He's going to look mangy.
Like, which Ninja Turtles was it that they did that with Splinter, and we were like, turn it off?
Oh, the first Bayverse one?
Was it the first Bayverse one?
Where he just looked
Somebody
so
did that,
juicy
and
and
it was
gross.
just so bad. It was just like, you cannot... What did you do to Splinter? Why did you make him that bad?
That's the crossover I want. I want the Ninja Turtles Transformers crossover.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Hands
I wish that Hasbro owned both properties, because Nickelodeon owns
Ninja Turtles right now. Yeah.
But, like, the idea of Leo not driving, but riding an Optimus Prime into battle.
I just want to know what
you put Mikey with Bumblebee, you put Raph with Ironhide, and you put Donnie with, what, Wheeljack? Who's purple? There are no purple Autobots. Yeah, because they're all the bad guys.
Character-wise, Wheeljack fits, though.
Yeah.
Depending on which Wheeljack. I would like to see
Donnie him in Q. Donnie and Q?
The only Q I know is the one that got executed.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the only Q. That's Wheeljack. What?
I want to see him in Cyberverse Wheeljack.
Don't word it that way. Cyberverse Wheeljack is OP though. I like him.
Yeah. I just want to know who scans the turtle van and turns into.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, always, and like with the crossovers, they always make it a new Autobot, which I like because the alternative is picking Bumblebee or Optimus, but I don't like because I would rather see Ectotron as like Wheeljack and the DeLorean as like Sideswipe, and I mean even G1 Sideswipe.
When it fits, like Depth Charge pre-Manta would be the Batmobile. I just made my husband so happy.
Yeah.
So if it fits, yes, but who would be the turtle van?
I could see Ironhide, obviously with a color swap.
Really?
Brawn, a bigger Brawn. I don't like Brawn, but like he's got the color scheme match, the green and the yellow. Brawn is the turtle van. He's usually a mini bot, but like I would take the scale change.
You gotta go with personality. It would have to be, and I'm drawing from Cyberverse because that's honestly where most of my G1
type knowledge comes from.
Yeah, it would have to be Hot Rod, Blur, or Bumblebee.
Bumblebee. You know what would be really cool is if you could do like an Ice Cream Twins style combiner, where it's half and half to make the vehicle. Bumblebee makes the bottom half, the yellow part, and then some green Autobot makes the top half.
Don't worry about color scheme. Focus on personality.
Well,
because they can change the color of the turtle band.
So Bumblebee on bottom and I don't know, Hot Rod on top or whatever. I don't know. How did we get here? Crossovers, bavers, gross rats. Yes.
Backing up.
Because my daddy taught me good.
That's a throwback.
To real life. Like,
oh my gosh.
Anyway.
No, so in order to have a character that ugly on screen, you have to justify it with a very likable personality, which means you have to have the rat trap personality.
Which
but
is
if
the
you
opposite of what they did in Beast Machines.
Yeah.
They made them ugly and unlikable.
Yeah. So hopefully they learn their lesson. But Mirage is very much that rat trap personality, and you can't have two of those on screen. So no rat trap.
Ice Cream Twins, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we backed up because we were at the fight. The fight was good.
But Mirage was amazing. I freaking loved Mirage.
Is there anything out of the fight that's notable aside from Bumblebee getting impaled?
Not really. It was a really well done fight. I will say that. I feel like the choreography was actually thought out.
The fight choreography?
Yeah. And the way that they jumped from this person to this person to this person to carry on the story.
It had
was very well done.
The fight had a feel like the Beast Wars finale for season 1, where all these characters are doing these different things, which is my favorite part of Beast Wars, the season 1 finale and the season 2 opener.
Mm-hmm.
Just expert writing, in my opinion, which is why I love the series so much, to be totally honest. That and nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like that's what got me back into it. Was like that was so good. So that style being applied to the fight. There were 3 big fights in this, and how I think that one's probably the best because it feels the most like what you said, like the fight choreo, because there were a lot of things to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just this fight on the side of a hill or this fight on the CGI terrain. Like there were actual like moving pieces to it. And that goes a long way for me. And again, that's one of the things I love about the Dark of the Moon final battle is you've got all these rotating pieces. You know, the chessboard, all the pieces on the chessboard are moving in this like chaotic tandem.
And this is the fight that introduced Airazor, isn't it?
Yeah, that's when she showed up. We do. So you've always had a sort of a neutral hate of Airazor.
Yeah.
Like a hate born of the neutrality you felt to her. And this one, you can very happily say, is not the case.
Everything that they did wrong in this series and the Beast Wars series, they made up for Airazor.
Well, is her name Susan Yao? The voice actress.
Michelle Yao.
Michelle. Where did I get Susan? Whatever. Anyway.
I don't know. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Yeoh.
Yeah. Just
Yo.
Look, I get she probably did this in her sweatpants at like, you know, whenever she decided to roll it. I don't care. Like, I'm just glad that we got such a prolific actor for Airazor.
Yes.
And the writers of the movie were like, this is our breakout Maximal for this movie.
And the way she performs it too. Like the voice acting in this film was just...
Was it?
Yeah. For really, I think everybody except Nightbird. I think...
I'm trying to even think of something that Nightbird said. Oh, she can fly in robot mode, which is a very Optimus Primal thing, which I thought maybe was like setting up the fact that Optimus Primal flew in his robot mode, but no, we did not get that.
Huh.
Because that's like Primal's thing, is he flies in his robot mode.
I don't even remember seeing any of the Maximal robot modes.
Yeah, it was...
I think I stepped out for that very, very, very short.
The robot mode designs for the Maximals are much weaker than the Beast mode designs, which we've already covered were not a material. Yeah. So, unfortunate, but...
Although the way they moved in Beast mode was very...
It was good, yeah. Obviously, we got the most of Primal, but
I was most impressed by Cheetor because it looked like they mocapped a cheetah.
can't imagine something more terrifying than like.
Here, kitty, kitty, hold still. Let me put these green dots
Why
on
is
you.
that cheetah still getting bigger? Oh,
Oh
shit!
shit!
Like, yeah. So Bumblebee gets extremely deadified,
Yep.
and I was like,
And then Air Razor.
but then I remembered there were scenes from him later in the movie, and I was like, even if I didn't know that from the trailers, I'd be like, they're not killing Bumblebee. So, yeah, that didn't stick. But Eraser to me felt like Elena's Pokemon. Because, like, she found the effigy. She found the
Oh.
effigy, the key.
Yeah.
And then, like, I really thought, like, I wanted more out of their relationship. And the fact that Eraser is the only one to die and stay
Elena
dead.
was the trainer that got to catch Mew.
Yeah, and I'm really disappointed that we didn't have Charlie and Bumblebee with Elena and Eraser. Like we got
That
with Noah
is
and
kind
Mirage.
of disappointing.
I was worried this whole movie that Rhinox was gonna get like an Ironhide style blink and you miss it type death. When I
Yeah.
guess Ironhide's wasn't blink and you miss it, but that sort of like casual,
Yeah, whatever.
more realistic death where it's, you know, you took a bullet on the battlefield.
And what they did to Air Razor was almost worse than death.
Well, and I
she
had to
got, like,
remind myself that
Zombie slavified.
I had to remind myself that these aren't the Bayverse movies. You don't have the haphazard deaths in these.
Yeah.
You know, and the deaths, even the bad guy deaths, are a little bit more creative. Specifically, what they did with Dropkick and Bumblebee, where they threw the chain at the helicopter and then he transformed and Bumblebee ripped like a ripcord and he blew up like a Beyblade. Like it was. Oh, I wonder if that wasn't inspiration for his death in hindsight. But
I'm replaying Air Razor and
so I will say that
my heart.
even after having absolutely bawled during Guardians of the Galaxy 3 at one point, I dare Razor's death like still kind of got me. You were crying.
I was
like,
in the,
oh.
yeah, I was in the theater going. I looked over and he's like tough guying through it.
I was mad they didn't transform her. Because I really like the deluxe figure that's coming out for her, not the Studio Series one. Oh, you can't see it.
I don't know. I love the hawk that has blades on her feathers.
Yeah,
and
they gave that name
fire
Airazor
breathing.
Yeah, they gave the Airazor name. Like there was one point where like all the blades came out of her feathers, and I went, "Oh, that's why." I mean, which it isn't, but like that's why in context of this.
But you kind of see it, and you're like, "Oh, somebody gonna get hurt."
So not this figure, but the other deluxe that they're hopefully going to release. So looking forward to it. I was really hoping that was going to be her robot mode because I like the way it transforms and I like the way it looks. This looks like a dude to me. This looks like This looks like Hawkman. This has got Hawkman. So yeah, I'm not treating this as an Eraser. This is a different character for me. But really sad. And I get why they didn't because they wanted the maximal transform reveal at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that still could have had the weight if she had transformed earlier. And then those three did it together. Even if it's before the other three Maximals showed up. I am sad we didn't get that. And I'm also sad that apparently you can just revive dead Autobots, but not dead Maximals. Because like Mirage and Bumblebee had
both got revived.
On top of more definitive deaths. Mm-hmm. Bumblebee got stabbed through what I'm assuming is his spark chamber. Mirage got absolutely blown to crap and then reformatted himself into a suit, which I wish I'd looked up. We'll talk more about the suit later, but Eraser just got crushed. You know what I mean? Like I felt like, you know, if anyone's gonna revive, she would be the easiest one to come back. So I honestly thought she got hit with cosmic rust at first,
I thought so too.
is what it vibed like. But they were doing this, which again reminds me of the Fallen. It feels like she got hit with a manufactured version of the energy that the Fallen came back with, or in this case, Scourge came back with. Because I got the impression that Scourge maybe was actually maybe previously a Decepticon or Autobot
or something.
While I'm on them, I do wonder. Oh no, they said Scourge's world was destroyed, I think.
And that's how he became a Unicron lackey.
Yeah, and I had a theory. Where was it? Did I not? Oh, so whatever world that Scourge came from, I wonder if the Scorponok's at the end of the movie weren't Predacons from the Maximal world, from Jungle Planet.
Oh.
So when it got eaten, maybe they aligned with Unicron or reprogrammed by Unicron
or
when they went into him.
Happened.
Yeah. Just a thought. Like maybe they're from the same planet. Why not, right?
That would make sense.
Yeah, because we don't have any idea what the Terracon planet's like, but we do know that he has Predacons. So.
Okay. So where are we at?
Air Razor was Elena's Pokemon. I can cross that. Oh, heirs of Tobias from Animorphs, since she apparently can't turn into a robot mode.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe she
bit.
stayed in beast mode too long and can't turn into a
and
robot.
now she can't go back. She's got what? It's not stasis lock. What's the lock that they call
Stasis
it?
lock.
Is it stasis lock?
Yeah.
She's got permanent stasis lock.
On that note, don't be a bird in this movie.
Yeah.
Because either you are a bird or a bird's in your name, and you ain't gonna make it to the credits.
I'm still hurting from her death.
I can make you feel better.
She was just her last words and the way she was like, "Make it worth it," and he was all, "Your sacrifice is my oath." I was like, "No!"
I did love the shot after that, after everyone got there to her dead body, the pan away, all her little flame blasts on the ground either were or looked very real. And I liked that leftover. And it bugged me later when Mirage sacrificed pieces of his body to become the exosuit. There's very clear up and down shots of that bridge they're on, but no pieces of Mirage left.
Yeah.
And it's like, he didn't put every piece into that suit.
I wondered about that too.
That really drove me nuts.
That was my mass question.
What? Oh, the mass shifting?
Yeah.
No, I got you. Like, I think even when it happens, like pieces are falling off the stuff that he's not using, and then they're not on the bridge, and it just that really bothered me. But on the flip side, the Air Razor death shot, that whole area looked so good.
It's one thing to see the claw marks of a dead creature versus seeing the dead body parts of a dead creature, even if we're talking about robots.
I mean, yeah. And I get, like, the tone of the scene was supposed to be uplifting, and it was supposed to belie the fact that he was dead because they weren't telling the audience he was alive yet, which was a little distracting to me.
Yeah.
Like, if they had him, like, don't do the end credit scene where they bring him back. Have him be the, like, maximal voice computer thing in Noah's head, like, hey, this is how this works. Like, it's still him. And make it feel like
That would be too Iron Man. To make him the Jarvis, he couldn't.
Maybe.
And I like that.
To me, it would have had vibes of like Digimon biomerging. But that's how I see things. I come from a Digimon foundation, so
they would have had to really push to make the Digimon parallel instead of the Jarvis parallel.
Which, I mean, to appeal to one person, which would have been me.
Yeah. Well, even just to separate from Iron Man and Jarvis, I felt like what they did was just enough to make it feel more in the vein of the G1 human
So you were talking about Spike's exosuit from the movie, which I don't believe exists until the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, the suit looks much more Iron Man. It's gonna feel more Iron Man. I think more audiences are gonna go Iron Man than Spike. But that was my initial reaction was, oh, it's Spike. And maybe that was my initial reaction because Mirage gave him that gauntlet, which was very Earthspark.
Yes. A little bit more like practical and tactical, but yeah.
Yeah, which thank you, Earthspark.
I don't.
And I love Mirage's joke. Don't ask what part of my body that came from.
Which, what does that even mean? What does that even? They make a couple of jokes like that, and that's where I'm just like, you're a robot. Like, this isn't the universe where Bumblebee peed on John Turturro. Like, that's not a thing here. So to touch on the suit, obviously, this big spoilers. You know that the last scene reveals this is a G.I. Joe tie-in at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And in hindsight of that, if anyone remembers, which I'm sure no one does, the first G.I. Joe movie, Rise of Cobra, had those performance-enhancing suits in it. I don't remember what they were called. But as I believe, those are a reference to an actual G.I. Joe thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what that suit is supposed to be. I think that's supposed to be the baseline for that. Since Noah's gonna join G.I. Joe.
Oh, and maybe they can take it and reverse engineer it.
Yes. I mean, even though Mirage has been rebuilt per the end credit scene, which should have been in the movie instead, but whatever. End credit scenes are they just are what they are now.
And it's not really an end credit scene. It was like
mid credit, but it's not in the movie.
Yeah.
So, in hindsight of that, when Noah put on the suit, I was like, "Oh, this is just an Iron Man ripoff," and it kind of stung a little bit. But in hindsight of the G.I. Joe reveal, I think that it maybe is that reference to G1 G.I. Joe era, which is G1 Joe. We're gonna call it that.
G1 Joe.
So yeah, I think that maybe it has a more legitimate, less rip-offy origin. Are those feet?
Those are feet. He just put his feet on my shoulder. He yawned and stretched and put his feet on me. I am furniture.
Not taking that anywhere. Did you have any other points you wanted to?
Nope.
That I felt like, and you haven't seen the last night all the way through.
That's your fault. I sat down and I tried to turn it on, and he came in. I was actually starting to get into it a little bit. And then he comes in, and he won't shut up.
Because it was so bad.
Everything he was like, oh, this is terrible. And in the next scene, da-da-da-da-da. I was like, just...
I did you a favor.
We turned it off.
However, the final battle in The Last Night, the set, and the set in this one feel very similar.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, the tunnels and everything, like, just the aesthetic of all of it really feels... And I wonder if these aren't concept arts left over from a sequel to Bumblebee that was being worked on before Bumblebee decided to be a reboot.
Oh.
Because it all would have to tie in. So I'm maybe not specifically a Bumblebee sequel, but whatever movie was going to tie into the Unicron Earth thing. So I'm wondering if that's not what that is. If this isn't grandfathered in from a dead continuity now.
Oh, that would be kind of
because that movie deals with Unicron even, slamming into, and so I'm wondering if that's not why those two sets look so similar.
Maybe.
So that was the end of that.
Maybe.
Do you have anything else?
There were a couple little things in Peru I really, really liked.
Go ahead.
What was that?
No, there's this moment where the village that was guarding the key, like, looks over at the giant machine that's been built by Scourge. And in my mind, I'm like, that dude is just sitting there thinking, you guys really screwed this up. We guarded this thing for centuries.
Really, guys?
And I give it to
Really?
you for one afternoon, and it's already the apocalypse.
Do.
Great job, morons.
I could have let my kids play with that thing. You realize this. And they wouldn't have done that. No, but like that village specifically, I loved um how they came out to see, oh, look at the robots, here they come. And Optimus Primal spoke to them in their language, bowed to
Yes.
them, was very, very respectful of them and their culture and grateful to. And there was such a poetry to it. And a very. It felt very Rhinox, like the original Rhinox.
Star Trek vibes of interacting with another culture and the
Yeah.
respect and reverence. It reminded me
It's
scene
beautiful.
there's the scene in the Trigger Part 2 where Optimus Primal shows up on the floating island and like Tigatron puts his paw in Optimus Primal's hand and Tigatron's like, "It's good that you have come." And it feels like an ambassador interaction, which I know that's
Mm-hmm.
not what it is, but that's the vibe it gives. I always like that. I like that. So no, I'm with you on that.
I liked that a lot. Of course, I liked the treasure hunt part in the Peruvian
I think I just don't like fetch quests,
temple.
which is in essence what
A treasure hunt
a
is.
treasure hunt story is. And then I have no emotional investment. So like this one, obviously, save the world, whatever. But for the most part, like treasure hunt movies is just like,
Yeah. I
yeah.
thought Wheeljack was cute.
Oh, so yeah, Tire John, he
Is Tire John? Definitely not.
barely existed. Like him and Stratosphere,
Yeah.
both in this movie, were just the plane.
Oh,
I
I was
know,
like,
right?
who's Stratosphere?
Stratosphere has
Ghost.
all this subculture hype from his Revenge of the Fallen movie toy, and like
So that was the old guy in the.
that's Jetfire.
Okay, I was like, is that the
No, there's a
no?
Revenge of the Fallen toy of the plane that Optimus Prime drives out of in Revenge of the Fallen. That is actually a character in the Revenge of the Fallen game, but I don't think ever transforms.
Okay.
And like the toy turns into the plane that Optimus Prime drove out of, and it also has a ramp and a tiny Optimus Prime that shoots out of its butt. And like
What?
it's very much a subculture thing within the Transformers
I
fandom.
I just thought he was fun. He felt very Launchpad from DuckTales.
He just wasn't barely there.
He didn't
Like
need to
he
be.
showed up, said his name, flew them to Peru, held Bumblebee for a moment, and then brought Bumblebee back to the fight.
He did
And
all he
we
needed.
had our Rise of the Bumblebeast moment. Like it just,
Yeah.
uh, I was mad. I think what told me I wasn't gonna like him, like his inclusion, I should say, in the movie, was when he said his own name. And no one else said it, and I was just like, oh, that's
Yeah.
got Baver's vibes. I'm Q, I'm Iron, like it just,
I just wanted to show him my guns.
yeah, it felt very cheap. Flip side, Tire John, when Mirage says Wheeljack needs to get his power steering fixed, I went, another character said the name. I don't know what it is about that works better. That
Yeah.
said, this is not Wheeljack. The the Wheeljack we saw in Bumblebee was a different guy. So why can't this just be a different Wheeljack? There's more than one Mike, right? How many Joys are there? Maybe this is just a different guy.
I tell you, the one thing that really confused me with the toy was the TV Pablo thing. And I was like, in New York in the 90s, I'm trying to.
That
What
feels
is that? What is going on? Well, it's because he was Peruvian. I liked
I
that.
was surprised he wasn't in New York. That felt like a very New Yorker thing. Like this random subculture thing, this dude driving around in a VW bus.
Well, modern day New York, but I have no frame of reference for 90s New York
Uh,
as aside from honestly, honestly, aside from Mikey's pirate radio in the next mutation,
so I
which
I think it was a JonTron video I was watching where they were talking about the seediness of New York in the 80s and 90s and going back, and how that got weeded out over a couple of decades. And I wonder if Hollywood had a hand in that, because there was so much New York stuff in the 90s, pre 9/11. And it just feels like something that would just be there. Like some dude just took a van, his van, painted his name on the side, and drove around fixing people's TVs. Hell, he could have been the guy getting people illegal cable.
Oh.
Yeah, no, hard New York vibe in my opinion.
See,
Could be totally wrong.
I
Never
looked
lived
at
in
that.
New York, but
I looked at that toy van, and it looks like um, a TV van, like Happy Hour News.
oh, you're talking about a channel.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a channel.
Oh no! I immediately got repair guy vibes. Yeah, that's just some dude driving around fixing people's illegal cable or getting it for them.
Yeah, I thought it was like a news van.
No. I honestly, this movie could have just totally done without that character entirely. Stratosphere was necessary because he flew them, but even then, they could have just chartered a plane.
Yeah.
Like there's
Wheeljack just kind of was like, "This is where to go." He was very much a one scene, just compass.
and he was technically in the fight, but like
What I do like though about his inclusion and about his inclusion in Peru is it feels like, okay, there is a global tactical movement for Autobots.
I like the idea
together.
that maybe Ironhide is in China, maybe Ratchet is in Japan, because there were a bunch we saw Brawn in that opening Bumblebee scene.
And they're in disguise and blending in not just with the vehicles but with the culture around them.
You know who wasn't there was Mirage.
Yeah.
In the Bumblebee scene.
Well, there you go.
So
gathering pointed intel on all nations of the world.
The good guy cast in this is a little bloated. And I think they could have easily cut...
A little?
They could have easily cut Stratosphere, Wheeljack, Rhinox, and Cheetor. Really, just... Mm-hmm. It could have just been Optimus Primal and Airazor. And honestly, that would have made her death that much more impactful.
I was going to say,
if she was the last one.
When she found Primal, she said, "I'm the last one." I don't remember any other Maximals getting on the ship in that opening scene.
Maybe they were already on the ship.
Okay. They didn't...
That's a good point, though. I hadn't thought of that. You're talking about when they left Jungle Planet?
Yeah, they didn't say... Like, they didn't show us who the other Maximals were that have all died, and she's the only surviving one. Like, that would have been a really neat opportunity to shoehorn in, like, Tigatron, Dinobot.
Yeah, but then they're dead. Then you've got the Botanica situation, where it's like, why are they dead, Airazor?
Fine.
Did you kill them?
Baboom, then. Show me Baboom.
It does beg the question, how did they die?
Just over the centuries.
Yeah, maybe. But, I don't know. I don't think I had anything else. Oh, Primus still a maniac. Straight up disarms Scourge and then gives him his face.
Bro earned it though. I mean, like I said, he wasn't just, "I'm just gonna kill people because I have a hair trigger temper." No, Scourge murdered
B
in a very, very slow, torturous, like, pulling the wings off.
He stabbed him, and then what else happened?
And then he held him aloft.
Right.
By his throat, and then by the stab. And B struggled for a hot minute. And he just kind of toyed with him. He had a little monologue. And then he threw him on the ground. Or he hit him again. He struck him one more time. And B wasn't gone yet. But it was enough. He pulled off B's emblem.
Yeah.
While B was still alive. Which gives me the implication that hurt. And then he threw him on the ground so that he could stare at Optimus as he died.
I will say one of the things I like about these style of movies is when they killed Optimus in Revenge of the Fallen. I don't know if you remember it. he gets stabbed through the back by Megatron, and then Megatron fires the cannon, and there's this giant explosion. There's a severe lack of reverence for the death.
This
And
one was all
they've been
reverence.
painting Optimus as the super reverent character in the prior film and up to that point in that film, and it just watching it at the time, I was just like, this is too much. It's over the top. It doesn't vibe with what I'm supposed to be feeling. The way what was done to B to kill him matches much more the vibe of what they're trying to convey. Less Michael Bay explosion, more
and
emotion.
that was when Optimus was like, I'm gonna kill you, Scourge. I'm going to kill you. But
yeah,
it wasn't, I don't think it got to, I'm going to dismember you and then rip your face off, until there was more battle and more injury and more. I mean, he watched Bumblebee die. I think he watched Mirage die. He watched Air Razor have to die, all because of this Scourge jerk. After that, he was like, no, you're going down. And when Scourge fought back, he was like, oh, really? I loved his death. I really did.
His getting his
Optimus
arms cut off and shoved into the lava and his face ripped off.
Dude, I knew it was going to go down too when their fight initiated and Optimus ran at him and reached into the lava and like threw it at his face.
I think he used his axe for it or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he
and I was
slung
like,
it. That was.
Oh, he is done.
That reminded me of something from another fight that I saw recently. Was it? Maybe it was from Guardians 3, so maybe I should keep it to myself as a spoiler, but Guardians 3 is so good. I can't say that enough. I shouldn't be talking about it in this review, but oh my god. Yeah, you bring in. They brought in depth-charged voice Rhinox, and then he had no lines. That really bugged me.
Well, I think it was a bait and switch. I think they said he's here to voice Rhinox.
Oh, because of Ape Link. Okay, that's fair. You did miss the point where they were all running into battle, and Optimus says, Cheetor, Rhinox, maximize, and they all three just. So yeah, you missed that because of the potty break, which was sad. But also their robot modes weren't great. Oh, you also missed. Speaking of deaths, Scourge got dismembered and beheaded. Nightbird got Rise of the Bumblebeast, and then it was Battle Trap. Prime was messing him up, and then Primal comes in with Battle Trap's own thing, his big weight thing, the wrecking ball, and smashes his head with it. And Prime's like, he was mine, and Primal laughs. But because of that, Primal kills one, Bumblebee kills one, and Optimus kills one of the trio.
Cool.
So, kind of drives me nuts that like nobody else ever gets big kills. But what are you gonna do? Everybody else just got the drones.
Sight.
Yeah. That does kind of bug me though. That like as soon as the thing is destroyed, there doesn't seem to be any more minions on the ground to take out. Like the battle's over. So I was like, well, there's still an army there. There wasn't enough to me army battling, but also it's like you're just fighting drones. So like,
we got Bumblebee jumping out of a plane and being pretty badass, and we got RC surfing a rhino into battle. What more do you
Not
need?
enough tracking on that one, but yeah.
Although I gotta say, something that kept standing out to me every time I saw it, the Ducati on her leg.
Yes.
I was like,
that sexy girl tattoo Ducati.
Yes.
Which I'm sure for the Robophiles, and they are
mini
everywhere. Yeah, probably dialing up the, So
I'm not gonna lie, I want to go out and get a Ducati tattoo up my leg now. Oh my gosh, Ducati and Cybertronian. I'm stopping. I'm only doing one stupid Transformers tattoo.
I don't even have any Transformers tattoos.
I know.
Tattoos are so expensive right now, though.
They've always been expensive.
I wanted to get like a red outline of a Maximal symbol.
Yeah.
And it was like more than $100, and I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
Well, you've got to pay extra for color. If you do it in black and white, it's not as expensive.
I guess, but like you want to get it in red though.
But like this one that I've got on my ribs, it was almost 300.
That makes sense though. You have a full color shaded.
It's not color, it's black and white.
It is?
Yeah,
It
it's
looks
only
kind of
black and
blue.
white.
I guess it's because of the fading over time.
There's a lot of shading in it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of shading.
But it's very detailed. It's shading. It's big. You know, I get that. But I wanted a red outline of a maximal symbol. Not even colored in, just red outline. It was more than $100. I was like, I'm not doing that. $35. You fucking doodle on my arm, boom, you're done. Like that's.
We need to go to that place we saw in Chicago.
$20
Tattoos, $5.
I'm gonna come up with a maximal symbol with like a derp eye. It's gonna look like it's gonna look like its brain is half baked.
No regrets.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be the maximal symbol. Like it's gonna have mange. No, I'm not doing that.
I mean, I shouldn't have paid as much as I did for this one. Guy literally printed a picture off the internet and then like.
But that's the thing, like the maximals
temporary tattooed it on my belly and then did.
But he did a good job. But what I was talking.
He didn't have to do anything. He literally traced it.
And that's my thing. That if that's 300, then the outline should be like tops $50. Tops. It's one outline, no shading, one thing, small. Yeah, no. I was mad. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. So, anyway, I think the orbs that were coming out of Unicron that became the freezers and Scorponok's.
Yeah.
I think that was a reference to the dead ends from Armada Unicron. Armada Unicron came with a ball minicon that turned into a little robot. It was called
that's
Dead
kind
End.
of cool.
So I think that was like, I knew that at the time, but yeah, Armada, more UT references. So that's cool. Good for them. Good for the UT people are having a resurgence right now, and that's good.
Do you know one thing we haven't touched on in this movie? The music.
I'm gonna knock you out.
Holy crap, the music freaking hits.
I feel like I like the music because of the movie it's in. I don't feel like I like the music independently. Because I tried to listen to the Biggie Smalls song. The If You Don't Know, Now You Know. Whatever that song is called. I can't think of it. And like I listened to it and I just did not like it. And it turns out I don't think it's in the movie. But it was the trailer song. Like I was trying to get into the music of the movie to like vibe with it better. Because it's not my style. It's not what I'm into.
I was gonna ask, what was that all Wu-Tang Clan?
I don't know.
Or was it like a mix?
I don't know what all the music was from. All I know is the one was the Biggie Smalls song in that one trailer. And so I was just trying to like.
One of the songs Elena was singing, "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls." I was like, I know that song.
Is that what she was singing? I thought she was like praying.
No,
in the freezer scene. Where they were being hunted.
She was singing something in that one. I do not know the song. I want to say it was the opener to a TV show. But in the airplane, she was singing "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls."
Oh, I didn't hear that.
And she and Noah have a short little conversation where she's like, "I sing when I'm nervous," which was a big thing in the 90s. A lot of, well, I'm assuming, because it's in a lot of movies, and I've heard of articles that talk about, if you're nervous, then you should sing. So I'm assuming that was a thing that came out of the 90s, something that people did.
Uh-huh. But, I mean, probably if people were seeing it in movies in the 90s, they were probably doing it in their, art reflects life, life reflects art. That cyclic thing. Kind of, not really. Not really off that point. So one of the things that people always complain about is like you see these Autobots and they're always like these vibrant, like expensive, sometimes cars that don't even exist, like Revenge of the Fallen, Sideswipe. Like that car never got released. It was so much of a model of what was going to be made that it didn't even have a paint job. It was silver. Like it was metal. Like I like the subtlety in hindsight of Mirage's disguise. He found the most expensive car lot he could find in his area to chill out because he wanted to look cool. He wanted a neat alternate mode. But
he had to hide.
Yeah, and he found a place where he actually was blended in. And the problem was he sat there for too long, and someone was like, "Hey, we could probably boost this car." But like as far as the disguise go, yeah, because if you see a Camaro and a Chevy Spark and a friggin' Freightliner or Peterbilt, and then the concept car that doesn't exist, all driving down the road, even if you don't live in a world with giant robots, you're gonna be like, "I'm gonna move. I'm gonna
There's
go a couple
something
blocks over.
yeah,
Something's
there's something
either I need to
happening.
record this or I need to avoid this." And especially if you know that Autobots and Decepticons are a thing, you're leaving. You're it's gone. So actual great use of the actual disguise.
I did like that. I liked too that in the end he had all the rusted pieces of the same model, but they were all
Yeah, he found all the
bullshit
parts of that
pieces.
model. Yeah. I wonder how if they continue with this storyline because they've already kind of soft rebooted again after Bumblebee. It kind of feels like a soft reboot after Bumblebee. If we're going to continue with that, how that's going to go forward. And I did wonder, like, because obviously they're wanting to do a GI Joe Springboard.
Yeah.
How are they going to separate Noah from the Autobots for those movies? Because you want to have a GI Joe movie that doesn't have Autobots in it for the main core GI Joe movies. I'm not invested in GI Joe, but like obviously they're going to want to do that. I really thought they were setting up Sector 7, honestly,
You
because
said that.
it's in Bumblebee has the Hoover Dam.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my theory on that, I told you this earlier, just as Macadam's oil house is transdimensional, what if the Hoover Dam base is transdimensional? So like it exists in Bayverse and the new verse.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I have. I can't think of anything else.
I can't either. I mean, that might be because it's almost 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah, it's 12:48.
I'm starting to
1248. I can't. Nope. I think that's it. I was irritated. It was another artifact hunt though. That was annoying. Like another fetch quest for an artifact in a Transformers movie.
I love those.
Yeah. It's just we're 7 movies deep now and they've done it in 6 of them. And it's just like
I mean, it makes sense.
I like that it was like Beast Wars adjacent, a transwarp something.
It does make sense, although I kind of wish it was more like I need to find the pieces of my ship to rebuild it or something.
Rather than an artifact. It does make me wonder why Unicron is trapped in that solar system. Because they said they're trapping him there by leaving with the transwarp key. So, like, is gravity an issue? Like, can he not get too far away from the star because of gravity? Maybe he doesn't have enough fuel enough planets to eat in that solar system to generate power to leave. I don't know. All stuff I'd love to see explored.
I think really they need to do 10 years later and go to 2004.
Well, I think they did. You know, I think
no, they need to do 1999 and have everybody do the whole "the world is ending" and play it to
I want a Y2K Transformers movie.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I think 8 years ago, when Guardians 1 came out or whenever it came out, I was like, "Are we still doing 80s?" Because we've been doing 80s for a minute. We've been doing 80s since like 2000. It's just persistent. And then they did Guardians 2 and Thor 3 and just so much 80s stuff for decades now. And they did the Bumblebee one and then they did Rise of the Beast as 94, which the last Transformers movie was 1990. No, was 5 years ago. I was going to say 1995. 5 years ago. So, like, I feel like we're kind of getting over that 80s hump, maybe. So I'm hoping we just live in the 90s for a minute.
I would like to live in the 90s. I think the reason we've gotten stuck in the 80s is because everybody who grew up in the 80s loved it so much that everybody who grew up in the 90s wished we had grown up in the 80s.
Well, it's got more of a vibe. Because, like, when I think about the 90s, I think of Frasier and Seinfeld.
See, my brain goes immediately to Saved by the Bell and like the super colorful triangles, like hot pink triangles on a teal background.
That feels like the 80s, but in a different, like, it still feels 80s to me though. It feels like the last
It's
echoes
still
of
a
the 80s
hang-on
permeating, because to me it seems like there's 2 decade.
Well, and what you just referred to were adult shows that were appealing to a more adult audience, and the people who are pushing the nostalgia are the people who grew up in whatever generation it was.
Right.
So, we're talking Pokemon and Digimon and Sailor Moon and Beast Wars Transformers and
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers T-shirt on what's his face, because it would have been
that.
the year after it came out.
And he made the Sonic and Tails references, and so I think that
Which
the 90s,
you don't get much more 90s than Sonic.
So I think the 90s are they're having their heyday, but I think that this demographic, we don't want to relive the 90s as much as we want to see everything good about the 90s done better.
Wasn't the 90s also the period where it was like, your children are at risk? DARE program and not playing outside, and like there was a permeation of danger that the 80s was like the last stand before
that
broke.
Started,
and I'm guessing, like, I didn't really come online as a human until 1990. So
that started in the mid to late 80s.
Okay.
So there was the Atlanta child murders that the TV
blew up.
Well, it was such a big deal that the news started saying, hey, it's 7:00. Check on your kids. Do you know where they are?
Yeah.
It's 8:00. Have you checked on your kids? It's
and
9
then you
o'clock.
think about like when that
kids?
like actually started impacting the culture on a wide range.
And then the DARE program started in like 86, 87, and it took time for all of that
Dare to believe you can do drugs.
I married him.
You love DARE. Fuck you. You love that song. You love the Hot Rod theme.
It's one.
DARE is a bop.
It's pretty good. I dare say it's pretty good.
Funtacular joy.
Hey. But yeah, that permeated, and by the time we got to the mid 90s, our parents were terrified.
They needed a Y2K tie-in though.
Would be so fun.
Just because the money that was blown on Y2K research that could have been just used to tell people to
just calm down.
Like,
it's probably not gonna happen.
You know what? Like, here's the thing. I knew this then. Okay, I was 14. All right, I knew this then. You go into your computer settings and you change the date to January 1, 2000 and see what happens.
Well,
or you do that on a localized internet network. Because, I mean, this is right around the time people were still saying the term an internet. Because there wasn't there was at this point the internet.
Right.
But we were just breaking out to where there were internets becoming the internet. You take a localized internet group, change the date for all of them, see what happens. Like, we didn't need to freak out. I knew that then.
So I didn't learn this until I was older. The freak out was actually fairly legitimate.
Okay.
Because the computers that control the nuclear warheads all over the world did not have the kind of thing that you can just go in and change the date like that.
Oh, because they were grandfathered in from the 70s. I knew that. It was really old computer systems that were running, which that's terrifying.
So they didn't...
We were still running those computers on Windows 77. Like, we didn't know. Okay, I knew that. I knew that too.
So there was the fear of like a computer shutting down to do a full reboot, but the systems were designed in such a way that if a computer shuts down, then the warhead itself goes, oh, it's hit the fan, I need to go. And all of these warheads were pre-aimed at who we thought our next enemy was going to be. So if the computers had any kind of a reboot at all...
And you can't just be like, let's just try it on one and see what happens, because then you
Then
blow up
you-
part of China.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, we kickstarted this apocalypse before Y2K did. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Okay, so maybe there was. It's still funny in hindsight.
And they were set for something ridiculous, like if the computer disconnected from the warhead for all of a half second, then the warhead shoots off.
What if the third movie? Oh my god. What if the third movie in this trilogy is just like Earth is about to hit Y2K, Unicron is on its way, and the Autobots are like, we're just gonna leave. What if, hear me out, what if the bombs go off while Unicron's eating it and it just blows up Unicron and we just go home?
And that's actually what I was thinking it would need to be, is them fixing Y2K somehow. And like Y2K didn't happen because the Autobots and G.I. Joe were friends and allies, and Unicron showed up, and it was actually kind of sort of lucky that he showed up when he did, because now we can just say, oh, that wasn't a nuclear bomb, it was part of the New Year's Eve fireworks.
What if they
destroying an alien?
What if they upload Y2K on Unicron and he implodes? You just got Y2 killed.
Ah!
Till all are done. I ran out. I didn't have any more. That one didn't work.
Till Mike is done.
Till Mike is done. I had something else. What was it? Nope. I don't have anything. I ran out. Oh, I want this. So I want the next one to take place in 1997, and whatever happens in that movie creates an alternate timeline where Michael Jackson is cast as Jar Jar. And the movies from then on exist in the alternate timeline with Michael Jackson Jar Jar, who when he leaves his water environment balloons up to like Java sized.
This has been a live casting of Beast Wars Machines, and probably the last podcast or casting at all, because the wife is going to kill the husband.
I'm just saying, it could be good.
Also, I'm just saying, this video is my defense, and my defense attorney is going to be like, Your Honor.
We're only 2 hours and 23 minutes. It wasn't that bad.
The jury will side with me.
I'm just saying, all baggage around Michael Jackson aside, I would like to see him as Jar Jar. And I'm sad we didn't get that reality. That's the timeline I want.
You're more obsessed with that reality than you are with any Transformer.
Yeah, because that would have fixed everything. That would have fixed everything. Or Y2K would have happened.
I just hope that whatever movie they do next is in a time frame that is late enough that they can legitimately incorporate some boy band music into it, and it works.
No NSYNC, no Backstreet Boys, no Beastie Boys. Wait, is Beastie Boys? What's the 108 Degrees? What band am I? 98 Degrees. That's it. Fahrenheit 98 degrees. Transformers 3, Fahrenheit 98 degrees.
The 12-year-old girl in me is puking sparkles right now.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Her little heart is so broken.
Okay, this is a bad thing. I don't have anything else.
Good night, everybody.
This has been Beast Wars Machines, Season 0, Episode 8, Rise of the Beasts.
Bye. I think you should push the stop button.